Character of the week. So, today's Character Week is a 1993 classic from Robert Townsend known as The Meteor Man. Jefferson Reed, a school teacher from Washington, D.C., was struck by a meteorite. He ended up getting superpowers from that meteorite. He had a crushed spine, several injuries, broken bones, several degree burns, maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th degree, who knows, but he was in pretty bad shape. What ended up happening is that he got imbued with those superpowers and he ended up healing from those injuries about 3 or 4 days later, like it was a miraculous healing thing. Because comics. The Superman archetype powers such as strength, speed, invulnerability, flight, x-ray vision, laser vision, that whole thing. But he also had other additional powers too, like telekinesis, ability to talk to animals like his dog, absorb knowledge from a book, like he would touch a book and he would know what's in that book and apply that knowledge but for a short period of time. I was pretty much spot on the nose about as far as getting this message across about reading, hey, knowledge is power, it was pretty corny, but hey, that's Robert Townsend in the 90s. So with his new superpowers, he's able to rid the neighborhood of the crime for a while. He was able to stop some robberies, carjacking, muggings here and there. He brought peace between Bloods and the Crips in the neighborhood. The only people who weren't riding along with that whole peace thing was the Golden Lords. That was the only gang that seemed to have more power and a bigger hold on these kids. You could tell the Golden Lords because they had like the dye hair, and they're the ones who found out his secret identity and the ones who found out what his weakness is, because the leader of the Golden Lords, some Luther Vandross looking dude, had the same abilities as him because he also was struck by a meteorite. So one of his weaknesses was the fact that he had to be close proximity or at least touching the meteorite to rejuvenate his powers. The longer he stayed away from the meteorite, his powers would deteriorate, I should say. So you go from like invulnerability to like almost invulnerable, nigh invulnerable to like really tough, and then finally mortal. Same thing with his strength would diminish too. So he ended up defeating the final Golden Lord and renewed his powers and was able to stop crime. Nice little happy bow to the ending. Now, funny thing about this movie, it came out in 1993, so this was Robert Townsend's production, filmed in Robert Townsend's studio, which I believe was at Atlanta at the time, which is almost unheard of, which is probably the reason why it didn't do too well. It was like 35 to 20 million to make, and it only did like 8 million domestic, but as soon as it came home for home box office, so like VHS, cable, broadcast television, stuff like that for ratings, that's when it started showing that people actually did like it or actually found it pretty amusing or funny. Now, fun fact or trivia so you can let people know about how this thing goes. In comics, we had Blade in comics, we had like Luke Cage in comics, you had Black Lightning in comics, Black Panther in comics. In 1993, I want you to understand this part, there was a 6-issue story arc in Marvel Comics, even had Spider-Man in it, so therefore it showed that Meteor Man is now included in the MCU. That technically makes Meteor Man the first black superhero of Marvel Comics on film. Fun fact. I mean, some of the stuff was pretty spot on as far as like the message it was trying to get across. This is also during the time period in the 90s where everything that was black created focus on the same topics such as gang activity and drugs. It was a huge like educational thing that they kept trying to push on. Gangs are bad, they're not your friends, they're not your family, that whole story. The McGruff, the rapping crime dog era, drugs are bad. The whole like DARE program, hey kids, there's gonna be some dude stranger around the corner who wants to offer you free drugs to get you hooked, and then he's got to pay, and then you start, which is never true. I mean, no one offers free drugs. That's just a lie. I mean, not that I would know. I don't know. I mean, I really don't. Like, back to you guys.
Like, share, subscribe.